Dear fintech guy, get your expensive girlfriend. Tell her that you are in the economy called Nigeria at the moment, and that if you guys are going to build sustainable wealth for the future, you need to cut back on the fancy life. You can have that much later. There is something about delayed gratification. If you eat your seed today, you would not have mangoes tomorrow. And then for your parents and your relations and all, you need to have budget for black tax. If you do not have that, it means that your financial literacy is very low. Have a fixed amount. Because if today you stop working, wherever you work, and they stop paying you, they will survive. They will find a way to survive. So this is your own cue to find a particular percentage that you allocate to that and stick to that no matter what.
If you've ever looked at your bank account and thought, I work way too hard, I deserve more than this, then you're in the right place. Welcome to Where is the Money, a podcast powered by Access Air and Pensions, where we flip the script on your financial journey and show you better, smarter ways to make, keep, and grow your money. We're here to help you break out of the hustle cycle, build lasting wealth, and plan a future that actually works for you. I am your host for today, Chiamaka Omoneme. Today's episode is titled, Stop Working Hard and Let Your Money Do It For You. And our guest knows exactly how to make that happen. So our guest for today is Stanley Onuorah, also known as the online banker. He's a financial strategist and economic analyst known for breaking down complex money topics into simple, bite-sized, practical steps for easy consumption. He has helped thousands of Nigerians reimagine what financial freedom really looks like, not as a dream or something abstract, but as a system. So if you're ready to shift from hustle to strategy, let's get into it. Thank you for joining us today, Stanley.
Thank you, Chiamaka. It's really nice to be here, and it's really nice to be with everyone.
Why do you think so many people, especially young Nigerians, why do you think they're working so hard but still not making progress?
As a financial person, the number one thing that is working against everyone at the moment is inflation. So the inflation is a thief that comes to steal from you every day, and you do not know it. That is why it's advocated that you save and invest your money, not just to save and to keep it, not earning you as commensurate interest, or at least fighting inflation. So when a lot of Nigerians feel like, okay, I'm working really hard and I'm not seeing as much progress. Last year, I saved 900,000. That 900,000 this year cannot buy me the same thing that it could afford me last year. So that is where the knowledge of knowing how to save and then investing your money in assets that at least help you to fight inflation. So that is the number one thing for a lot of Nigerians.
I would like to believe that there are other angles and there are other things that make people generally feel like, oh, I'm making progress, but the progress is not progressing. So let's jump right into the financial fix of the week. And we're just going to share a dilemma from someone in the audience. Here goes. So I have a full-time job in fintech, and honestly, the pay is good, but for some reason, I'm always on red at the end of the month. You know how Odumodu sang, "You for life pity this boy." I really need my people to pity me. It's always from one billing to another, and to top it off, I don't know who sent me to have a high-maintenance girlfriend. Don't get me wrong, I love my family and my babe, but how do I break the generational pattern of poverty in our household if I continue like this? Wow. Okay, so Stanley, what do you have to say to this person?
So number one, this person is fighting black tax.
Yes.
So this is a case of black tax holding you, your hand, your leg, and he's trying to strangle you. You need to fight for your life. Yes. One of the things that we have seen over the years, especially in Africa, contemporary Africa as we have it, is that black tax has become a thing. And from our parents' time, when I say our parents' time, I'm guessing that a lot of people that were watching this are below 45. And, so in our parents' time, what they had was most of them were either the first to go to school or first to start a business. They were just moving from an era where one or two people were in the village. They were just moving to the urban areas. So a lot of them were new to urban areas. And that made either the eldest or the most educated or the most exposed be the ones to cater for a lot of things around the family. Now that has shifted. trends have shifted. If you were born 70 years ago, you had limited options on what you had as a job. If you were born 100 years ago or 150 years ago, the things that you could have done was that either you worked for the government or you worked in agriculture. But today, I work for myself doing something that is contemporary, still in finance, but it's varied as it relates to social media and consultancy. You couldn't have this 15 years ago. You didn't have this 10 years ago. It means that everyone has the ability to, use a skill that they have to generate income for them. So if we all have this possibility, why are you now the person that is going back 75 years? Why are you now the person that is going back 100 years? So for you, you need to have the normal budgeting and have a budget for black tax. Just like people say they have a budget for tithing, what they give to God. So they have a budget for what they put in food. If you do not have that, it means that your financial literacy is very low. Dear fintech guy, please, as much as possible, get your expensive girlfriend to tell her that you are in the economy called Nigeria at the moment. And that if you guys are going to build sustainable wealth for the future, you need to cut back on, the fancy life. You can have that much later. There is something about delayed gratification.
Yeah.
If you eat your seed today, you would not have mangoes tomorrow. So just get her to understand that, because I'm guessing he really likes her. That is why he hasn't let go. And then for your parents and, most likely your relations and all, have a fixed amount. Because if today you stop working wherever you work and they stop paying you, they will survive. They'll find a way to survive. So this is your own cue to find a particular percentage that you allocate to that and stick to that no matter what. So that's my advice for him.
Okay. So have a budget for black tax. So what happens in a situation where, let's say this guy now is the breadwinner? Let's say the first child, and you know what happens to every first child in Nigeria.
Yeah, also. Absolutely.
And then he sets aside said budgets, and then somehow it just doesn't work. If we're being practical, setting aside a budget for black tax, how practical do you think it is in a typical Nigerian household where you can give the money on the 4th of the month and then by 20th, another request is coming in?
So part of why we have this conversation is that we're not thinking like the typical Nigerian household. That's for a start. Okay. And then secondly, we are looking beyond. We are looking at the scenario that I gave, that everyone has the ability at the moment to do something for themselves. Mm-hmm. People are knitting in their house. I'm talking of knitting, and they have a space on TikTok. If you have as cheap as an itel phone, that is with the inflation that is as cheap as 15,000 naira, and you can record a low budget TV, your 50-year-old dad or mom can be giving advice on the internet and make at least 50,000 naira a month. Your brother or sister who is in school, or somebody that you give money to for XYZ, can find something to do for themselves, because the internet has made it possible, endless possibility. And this is just the start, because we're about to enter the age of infinite prosperity, abundance for everyone, with AI and automations coming in. So why not key into that? You're not the typical Nigerian. That's why you're listening to the Money Show.
Yes, sir. So I mean, I would take that from you, because it worked for you. For someone who has a background in 9 to 5 and is now running his own online consultancy business, and I'm sure you have offline. Yeah. So you have offline businesses that you do as well. So, at what point did you pivot? Did you decide to, leave the 9 to 5 hustle and, start doing what you do now? And at what point did you decide that finance was it for you?
There's a lot of stories for people that say, when I started, I had the passion, and then some people got lucky. Some people, fate happened to them. I'm one of those people that fate happened to. And I found myself, I remember before the podcast started, I was just giving you like a bit of backstory on moving from civil engineering into like banking, and how I just got lucky at, somebody telling me, oh, there's this test, go and write it. Maybe because I was a little smart, just like 0.5%, tiny bit. So, and that moved in. And then it really got interesting because I think one of the things that I like to do is to talk to people. And one of the things I can do for free is to teach.
Yeah.
So I found myself in the space as a retail banker that had to talk to a lot of MSMEs, that had to, coach people on things that had to do with their money, how to run their businesses, get credits. And it seemed pretty interesting. And at that time, I didn't know where the road was leading, but it felt like a path. I did that for a number of years, and I woke up one day, I think that was in 2019 or 2020, and I said, what would happen in the next 5 years? And I said, some people will be looking for a banker online. So why don't I become the online banker? And I went to search for the name, and it was available everywhere. And I just saved it. I didn't even know. 2 years later, I started trying to make videos with Nollywood stars and stuff to try to get financial literacy out using the Nollywood style. That didn't take off. I was still working 9 to 5. I'll do that on Saturday. I'll do that Saturdays and Sundays, and then I still had my work. Fast forward to then leaving the old Access Bank. I resigned from Access Bank because I got like an offer under development finance with the CBN. And then I was still doing that, and long and short of it, you know how they say the rest is history.
Yes. Oh, wow. That's lovely. So, I mean, for most Nigerians, like the story we shared earlier, it would always seem like there is an earning problem. But would you say that there is an earning problem in Nigeria, or would you say there is a big gap in money management knowledge?
Oh, that's a very brilliant question. On the economic side of it, you should understand that consumption is important for the economy. A lot of people keep saying save, 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 but consumption is important for the economy. Without consumption, everyone will be in trouble. Because if you keep your money and I keep my money and we don't go to the restaurant, the man that owns the restaurant will shut down. The man that is transporting the person that goes to the restaurant shuts down. The man that is supposed to buy from the man that takes the man to the restaurant shuts down. So consumption is important. But the question is, how much do we earn? So if you look at the GDP per capita for Nigeria, we are dropped from as high as $3,000 to $3,000 as of 2015 to $800 now. So it says a lot about what our earning potential is. And that comes to what you when we started the topic about why do people feel they are working harder. So if you could afford my first car, I got it for 550,000 naira.
What car was that?
Camry big lights.
Oh, okay.
I got it from my friend for 550,000 naira. That car today is sold for over 3 million naira. That's a car that is 22 years. This is a 2022 car, 2002 vehicle. So yeah, 2002 vehicle, and you're getting it for 3 million. So it says a lot about your purchasing power and why people feel like they're working backwards. And that now comes to the essence of saving. Because if you're not investing, you're moving backward. If you're not finding strategies to move ahead, there's no question of you're standing still. You're moving backward. For a lot of people, it's an earning problem. And like I will always tell everyone, the possibilities today are infinite. The possibilities are no longer local. Your competition is not in Kano. Your competition is not in Lagos. Your competition is on the internet. And as long as you have something to offer, some skill that you can learn and prioritize, trust me, you could add to whatever that you're doing. And then that comes to money management. The second side of it is the Nigerian syndrome that I preach to everyone. The most popular generator in Nigeria is called I Better Pass My Neighbor. And it is I better pass my neighbor for a real reason. And the real reason is that it's a mindset that a lot of Nigerians have. I need to do better than this person. And that's what makes people, let me take a jab at you ladies. Okay. That's what will make a lady, want to attend a wedding and go into debt just so that she could look, better than XYZ people just to show them. She can go home and cry though. So it's the whole I better pass my neighbor, and that gets a lot of people eating their seeds as opposed to planting their seeds. So that mindset of, okay, I need to show off. You're not trying to impress anyone. You're trying as much as possible to better your financial future. So that money management side still comes into play. If you can find a way to earn more and find a way to not better pass your neighbor, be better than your yesterday and improve on yourself, you see that you have a lot better management of your finances, and you see a lot of growth more.
Do you ever need assistance navigating your pension account? You can get all the help you need from Penny, your smart, friendly access ARM pension virtual assistant on WhatsApp. Here's everything Penny can do for you and exactly how to do it. Save the number +234 8121 859 148. Then open WhatsApp and type hi. Please note that all your chats are protected and secure. Just remember not to share any sensitive details unless Penny specifically asks you to. From the main menu, you can click the General Enquiries menu to learn about Access ARM Pensions, our pension services, our office locations, pension fund prices, or contact details. For more personal enquiries on your RSA account, click the Transaction Enquiry menu, which will require you to log in with your email, RSA PIN, or phone number. You'll be required to input the OTP sent to your registered phone number to validate your login. From this menu, you can now get your RSA PIN, get your RSA balance, and request the membership certificate to be sent to your email. You can also check your transaction history, but for a more detailed account statement, you'll be required to enter a start date and end date using the appropriate format, after which the account statement will be sent to your email. So remember, save +234 8121 859 148. Say hi. Pick what you want, follow the steps, and Penny will sort you out. At Access ARM Pensions, we've made pension management as easy as chatting on WhatsApp. Say hi to Penny today.
That's great. You're dropping a lot of seed dominoes here today. So, from what you've said, there's an earning problem and there's also
a money management problem. Yes.
So basically, get your skills out there, monetize your skills.
Yes,
solve a problem. Okay. So if we're going to be, let's bring it home. Let's say I'm a 28-year-old living in Nigeria. I'm working on earning relatively okay. What are, based on your theory now, what are 3 practical steps that you would give, or tips that you would give me to have a mindset shift from, being just me doing this and to being someone that is monetizing my skills and having better earning potentials, like you said?
Okay, so typically, I'm going to say this directly to like everyone. So you are 28, you're 25, you are the number one thing that I would tell anyone, especially young people, is that if you are below the age of 40, in fact, I'm going to categorize this in when you try to do financial planning for people that I consult. Any financial planner will tell you this, is that there's a risk appetite to the age. There's an investment style for every age bracket. So the number one thing that you have is that you have time. If Jeff Bezos or was Warren Buffett could buy back time, he would tell you to leave him with maybe like $1,000 to survive on, and take all the money and give him your time. But you have something that he does not have. And then we'll talk a lot about compounding. So the number one thing you said is that you earn a decent living that puts you midway above like most Nigerians. So you have the leverage of the seed. I always call it the seed. There's something one of the people that I really listen to, Bukola Washika, she says a lot. She talks about the sand and block theory. So she uses the analogy that if you have sand and the breeze comes to blow it just goes away. But if you can find a way to keep gathering your sand and convert it into a block, it becomes solid. And after a while, you can lay those blocks on each other to form a house. And then that house can keep producing an income for you that translates into sand. And then as long as you can then use that sand to do as much as you want, and no matter how much of that sand goes, you have the block that keeps producing the sand. So when you think of your money in that direction, it gives you the idea that, okay, I'm earning something. I keep mentioning seed. I need to put it into investments that yields me something, 10, 15, 20%, or that I'm taking some risk depending on your risk appetite into different asset classes that still helps me to grow this money no matter how small. And that's where compounding comes. That's why I mentioned you being young. As you keep doing that over the years, you realize that 10, 15, 20 years, you are far from, when you start, you are 1.5 better, 0.2 better, 1% better, 2%. And after 10 years, you're no longer going to be 10x better. You're going to be most likely 5,000 and 1,000 or 900. So the growth compounds as you grow. So the first thing that you need to do is to look at your income as a seed. Don't eat all of it. Don't be better than your neighbor. Try to invest in your future. Then secondly, whatever that you're doing in terms of your skill means that your organization, I tell people this a lot when I talk to them, is that your organization is paying you for a skill that you have. If you are not skillful, you will not be employed. So there is already something that you are employed for. If you are employed for that reason, it means someone else can pay you for something that is that, even if it's not full-time. If it is not full-time, you could do it. So you could do it for you could do it 1/10 of what you do it for your employer because it's not an active job. But if you can find a way to deploy exactly that thing that you do, because so for example, like I do content, I do consultations. I don't have the ability to do all the research myself. There's a limit to the amount of research I can do. There's a limit to the number of people I can speak to on the internet. So I have like an assistant that helps me to take care of that. And then my assistant, for example, she has other things that she can do or she does. So just that ability to be able to manage people is just a skill that she can earn from. Then if you now come up to research, there are people that do research normally for their organizations. So why don't you just pitch out, oh, I do quality research. If you want research that could be done, I could bring it out for you in 2 weeks. And this is my fee. It could be it could be 1/10 of what you're being paid for in your active employment. That way you have like an extra source of income, still doing exactly what you do while converting your sand to block.
Right. So essentially, time is your friend.
Time is your friend.
The greatest leverage you have, especially as a young person.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much, Stanley. This has been a very insightful and empowering session.
Namaste.
And key takeaways: time is your best friend, especially if you're young. And then secondly, don't eat all your seed. Leave some to plant for tomorrow. Okay, you've heard it all from the pro himself. You also need to understand that you need to take care of yourself first, regardless. If you have savings, if you have investments that you can fall back to on a rainy day, good for you. And that's what we're preaching on today's episode. And that is why today's episode is so important. So, Stanley, before we end this episode, I'm going to ask you one very, very important question. Stanley, where is the money?
The money is in your mind.
Okay.
So you know how motivational speakers will tell you, you are rich without the money yet.
Okay.
So the money is in your mind, and just like what I explained, as long as you can find a way to keep growing your skills and using the knowledge that you get, just like we've just spoken about in this episode, you can use that knowledge. Not applied knowledge is better than just acquiring all the knowledge, and just use it and apply it. You find out that like we mentioned, you start to grow exponentially. Slowly first before you start to grow exponentially. You can start by earning an extra 10,000 naira because you thought, okay, why don't I put out this my skill and see if someone pays me? And you're surprised that someone can actually pay you for that. And then you can then leverage a lot more of the skills that you have. We are in the knowledge economy. Everybody that you know currently around the world, called the biggest company at the moment is Nvidia. Nvidia is 4 trillion. all the employees of NVIDIA, 40% of the employees in NVIDIA are millionaires in dollars from just working there, and they're not doing anything special for the company that is not applying their knowledge. So we're in a knowledge economy, so the money is in your mind, and we have so many millionaires that don't know the amounts they have.
The money is in your mind, so you need to put your mind to work, bring out that creativity, create a skill, and then monetize it.
Absolutely.
So if this episode made you think differently in any way regarding your money plans, your money strategies, share it with a friend. Don't gatekeep. A lot of important nuggets have been dropped here today. And then if you are ready to take control of your financial journey, don't forget that there is also something called planning for your retirement, where you set money aside, called pensions, and then basically you know that you're going to retire and rest. You retire with peace of mind. So if you're ready to start that journey, head over to www.access-armpensions.com to learn more about how you can start to contribute towards your retirement. So Stanley, do you have any final words for us, for our audience?
Oh, well, so you guys have pensions, and just like I mentioned, you have your seed. Keep some of them for retirement. Yeah. Your time goes by fast, pretty quickly. So, pensions is something that everyone should look out for, and then find a way to keep growing your skills. And find a way to keep monetizing your skills. When in knowledge economy, don't limit yourself.
Okay, thank you very much, Stanley, and thank you to everyone who stayed tuned to this episode. We have other episodes coming up after this, so don't forget to share with a friend. Share it with someone who you know is going to benefit from this. I remain your host, Chamaka Onuorah. See you in the next one. Thank you.
Thank you so much.